Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to this new Fireside Hang. So now you know the deal. Every Wednesday, some updates about the Midnight ecosystem. So today we are going to talk about two different things. And the first time we're going to have Nick and Carmel from Midnight, who are going to give us a product map update. And after them, I'm going to talk about the migration between for your apps when you want to migrate them to Preprod. So we're starting to do the work, and also some members of the developer community have done some work on that. So we are going to talk a little bit about how to make it happen and how to migrate your application to Preprod. So I hope that we are going to have Nick and Kamal soon joining. Okay, they're here. Okay, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Okay,
everyone.
microphone test. Okay, that works. Okay, so maybe we can start by some introductions. Kamal, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do at Midnight.
Sure. My name is Carmel. I am Director of Product at Midnight, and I work with various teams to provide use cases that enable the growth of our ecosystem and help solve real-world problems. Nick?
Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Stanford. I'm the product manager focused on developer experience here at the Midnight Foundation, where the goal is to reduce friction for you to build your dApps so that we can empower you to build the next killer set of use cases in ZK privacy dApps on Midnight.
Okay, perfect. So I think for today you have an update. I think a lot of people in the ecosystem are waiting for updates and they want to know what's going on. So let us know what's going on.
All right, I can get started. Before we share some updates, I wanted to orient our members here. First, thank you for being our first to adopt and build and experiment with our platform, especially as we gear up for our launch. To highlight some of the areas that we're focusing on at Midnight, number one, there are some pillars that we're focusing on. Number one is the privacy enabling tech. Then there is smart compliance. Then there is chain abstraction, generally thinking of interoperability. So when you're thinking about building something and providing value to your users, you really want to sit in that triangle and be able to tap into the different sides of it to provide solutions for problems that users are experiencing within the blockchain ecosystem as a whole. So if we want to talk a little bit about privacy enabling tech, so this is really not about hiding transactions. It's about having programmable privacy, so systems that have to balance public versus private states are able to do so. So if you're thinking of use cases where that there is a balance between private and public, that's the place to be. If you're thinking about smart compliance, what does that really mean? It's our gateway for real world adoption. If you think institutions, if you think governments, if you think about healthcare, enterprise, they all operate under regulatory frameworks and very, very specific needs. So if you're thinking KYC, AML, accredited investors, etc., that is where we have programmable disclosures. So we can reveal what must be revealed and needed to be revealed, and we can protect what needs to be protected. And this is where the niche of that use case you're solving for is extremely important, because then you can leverage that power of smart compliance for it. And then the last strategic side or pillar is the interoperability, which is chain abstraction, intents, and this is really to solve for the adoption bit, which no users are going to want to migrate to a whole new ecosystem, right? That's a hard thing to do, especially for loyalists. So the whole experience should feel like you're building behind the scenes. It's a back-end service. So users are not thinking about what chain am I changing from, or where am I going, and what chain am I on right now? So I can extract the value without having to think about all these pieces. So these are the pillars as you're thinking of the use cases you're building towards or problems you're solving. try to orient yourself around these 3 pillars, because this is what we are focusing on at Midnight, and we can help empower you solve through these 3 pillars. Now, if I want to talk about some of the features that we are working towards, first, in future updates, we'll come prepared with an actual full scoped roadmap with specific timelines, etc. But we didn't want to stay behind the scenes on this one. We wanted to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what's coming. So very, very, very soon, we're adding block time context variable, which you'll see in a very upcoming release, which is exciting because that enables you to use that. And then if I'm thinking through the next big ticket items that are scoped in our roadmap and coming in iterative releases in the future, one that's very much requested and needed for a lot of the DeFi use cases and a lot of the work that you guys are doing is contract to contract, which enables the smart contract to directly invoke another contract's logic, right? And then we also have token standards, whether it's shielded, unshielded, and then what this metadata within them look like. And that's extremely important as you're building transactions. The last one I'll mention is events. Some can be private, some are going to be public, and that also depends on the use case. So that's one of the things to consider. These are coming as iterative releases. We'll share more around timelines for them and when to expect them in the future, very, very near future, I hope. That's all I have. Nick?
Yeah, thank you, Carmel. So in working towards that future, one of the things that we need to do is create a developer experience that reduces the friction for you to build these dApps. Those of you who have been around the Midnight ecosystem for a long time understand the complexity that goes into building in these newer ecosystems, especially while we work to get our packages up to stable versions and work towards a mainnet release. So one of the two of the things I wanted us to talk about here today are the initial set of works that are coming out of the developer experience corner to help make your lives easier as developers. The first of those being documentation. So the documentation that exists today is being overhauled to a completely new structure with a completely new set of information that aims to get your hands on the code faster. It allows you to learn by doing so that you better understand not only what keywords you need to use in a compact language and supporting tools, but also how do you start to think about building a rational privacy dApp? What are the pitfalls? What are the common mistakes? What are the areas that you really need to harden your dApp against so that you better build towards a proper rational privacy dApp? So there's a QR code on the screen here for the Midnight developer documentation. And what you'll see in the short term, for those of you who are on this documentation side a lot, you'll see 2 different versions for that documentation. We wanted to put a pin in the existing version, and we call that one just 00, so that the information that you've been using is still where you expect to find it. Now, moving forward, we will deprecate that version and move towards a completely new version of the documentation that at the moment you'll see under the Canary tab. And I'm not sure if my screen is being shared here or not, but it should be. So what we can look at is what is coming for the Canary version of the documentation. Okay, yep, I see it up there now. So you'll see here the 00, this is the version you're used to if you've been using the documentation for a long time. Nothing is really changing here. Again, the purpose is just to make sure you still have the information you need to keep moving forward. But if you go up to the version button here, you'll see this Canary version of the documentation that has this disclaimer for under construction. So what we've done is we've kind of done an audit to the existing documentation and started to consider what information do you need to get started and what information can wait till a little bit later. What we don't want to do is overload developers with documentation or information prior to actually putting your hands on the code. The first thing you want to do is get in and start writing code and feeling out the code and how do I start to interact in this ecosystem. This version of the documentation is available at the same hyperlink that you're used to, except for with the next button there. So you can just go right from this drop down and go to the Canary version. And the only thing I will say is if you're gonna poke around the Canary version here, what you're gonna find is a lot of the content will be marked as coming soon. A lot of the content will be marked as incomplete until we can get up to that point. What we want to do is sort of focus initially on this onboarding part. So I'm drawing a box here around overview, getting started, examples, and tutorials, because we feel that this is what will empower you as developers to learn by doing and having your hands on the code faster, which will allow you to better understand how to write dApps in the Midnight ecosystem. Now, once you feel a little bit more comfortable with how to write dApps in the Midnight ecosystem, maybe then you're starting to consider what are the concepts and what are the low-level details around a specific thing that I need help with. And at that point, that's where you'll start to go past the onboarding section and into the concepts and guides and the details about the compact language itself. So we feel that after you're through the tutorials, that's when you can really start working towards getting a proof of concept or an MVP for your use case built out. And this is where you'll find information to help you do that. So the documentation is completely open sourced. It is available for you to contribute to at any time. What I will say is up until next Friday, which I believe is February 20th is the tentative date, where we want to launch Canary as the single source of truth. Right now, it's a little bit complex in having the different versions. And as of February 20th, what we'll do is we'll make Canary the single source of truth. We'll deprecate version 0.0. All you will see is one single source of truth in the documentation for what exists here in Canary. From there, we will open up for feedback loops. So we want to hear how you're interacting with this documentation site. What do you feel the improvements could be made? And help us get there for what you want to see for this documentation site. In the short term, we're going to be moving quickly so that we can get this out and we can iterate on top of this. But as soon as we have that go live date behind us, we'll start to get feedback from you as developers as to what you need that is not there currently. So again, I just kind of want to reiterate that after we launch this, there's still quite a bit of work to do to finish out what these guides will look like and the information that goes inside of those guides. There's a lot of information out there. All of that information needs to be vetted for accuracy, and it needs to be ported over to the new documentation site. This is a pretty manual and cumbersome process that we have to go through to get there. So outside of consuming this information, what else do you care about as a dApp developer? If you've developed a dApp in the Midnight ecosystem, or even you've played around in the Midnight ecosystem to work on your dApps, you know that there are several supporting tools that you need in order to build a dApp. And maybe in the past, you've looked at stable examples that work, and you've looked at the package JSON file and said, well, I see this collection of dependencies. There are several, and some of them are alpha versions, some of them are beta versions, and it's a little bit difficult for me to maintain a working state when we are in these sort of experimental phases of releasing these tools and adding features that will support the eventual mainnet launch. So what you will find in the future, and as of today, you can go there right now and find this, is under this release notes section here on the left. This should be very big headline for everyone, right? Latest stable release. And what are the compatible tools that go into this latest stable release? So no longer do you need to look hyper locally at maybe the bboard dApp and its package JSON file to figure out which of these fragile dependencies work with my dApp. But now you'll be able to come into what we're calling our compatibility page and say, I need to work with the latest stable versions. What are those and all of the tools that I care about? Well, you'll see the environments and all the links that you need to get started, but you'll also find a compatibility matrix. This compatibility matrix will be kept up to date with the latest stable releases to allow you to come directly to this page and know which versions of what tools do I need to actually get started building a dApp. So I realize that this has been a pretty significant pain point, and what I'm here to tell you that we as the developer experience team are on top of solving this problem in the very near term so that you can maintain working states for your dApps and you can stay up to date with the latest releases. Now, there will still continue to be beta releases and alpha releases for different tools, but you can work on those if you want. Otherwise, you know where the stable versions are and you know how to create stable dependencies for your dApp. And this is a really, really big friction point that we found coming into the audit for this ecosystem. and finding that this is an area where we really could help developers a lot to get started with understanding what are the different versions that work together. So inside of this release notes section, you will always find this compatibility matrix, and we will always maintain public communication about this compatibility matrix. So once we get to the next major stable release, you'll see public communication come out in Discord, you'll see public communication come out in the forum, and you'll see this docs page updated, so that you can always go right here to this release notes section and find the information that you need, as opposed to sort of looking around all of the different release notes and trying to find what it is that you care about. Now, you can still scroll down and find the specific release notes for each component that you do care about, because the reality is there's a lot of granular detail there that you may need in order to migrate your dApp from what you have today to the next stable version. So these are areas where we feel we can move the needle for developers very quickly and help you encounter less friction in developing your dApps. So after we get through some of these stable versions and we have what we consider stable for an upcoming mainnet release, what we would do is start to consider what are the other tools that may help you build dApps, reduce the friction to build dApps. And I'm going to keep using that terminology because that's sort of our North Star goal, is reduce the friction to help you build dApps. You'll start to see some CLI improvements. You'll start to see some AI tools that will help build your dApps, that will help you consume documentation. And what we really need to do is start to package some of this tooling and deliver it as part of the foundation offering for the onboarding experience, so that you are not repeating code across different dApps, or even different developers repeating code for the same purpose. If you need to deploy your code, and that's the same 200 lines of code for everyone, we can make your life easier there, and we can package a CLI tool that does that for you. So what we need to do first is get to this stable set of versions. We need to get this working in a sort of harmonious state. And once we're there, we'll start to look at the future of how we develop tooling and how we develop supporting infrastructure to help you build your dApps with less friction. So this is the primary focus out of the developer experience corner, and will be the primary focus moving forward. So you can expect to see more of these things coming out of the developer experience corner. And you can also expect to see more of me in your Discord dev chat channel talking about these things and answering your questions where I can. So that's all I have. Thank you for your time. If you do have questions on these things, please feel free to reach out in the dev chat channel in Discord. I do check it fairly regularly so that I can help keep a temperature check on the developer ecosystem throughout Midnight. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick. I think Kamal wanted to add something.
I was just going to reference one of the questions. The pillars, just so we can have them: privacy enabling tech, smart compliance, and chain abstraction intent, mainly for true seamless user experience and interoperability. So these are the 3 pillars that we're working towards. And like Nick mentioned, feel free to add any ideas or questions you may have in Discord, and we'll continuously check it and report back. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, they left, so I think they're done. So now let's go to something more serious, and let's have a look at some code. So I'm not going to show you too much code, but we are going to see a little bit how to migrate your dApp to Preprod. So one of the good news of this last weeks is that now Preprod is usable, and you can start migrating your own dApps to Preprod. The thing is that you're going to have to make a lot of changes because a lot of new features have been introduced, and you have to apply them and you have to take them into account. The good news is that we have libraries that also evolved and have those features implemented. So you just have to know how to use them. I'm going to show you a little bit what we've done here. So we have the example counter dApp that's ready already to be used on Preprod. So that was pushed that was released a little bit earlier this week. I also have my finger on the button to release the pre-prod version of the Bboard app that was created by Sergey from Brick Towers. So I was reviewing it today, and it looks like everything is working, outside of a little bug with the Lace wallet that should be fixed very soon. Outside of that, the rest of the libraries and everything works correctly. So that's going to be published very soon. I'm going to show you quickly the example counter. So first, we're going to go through a little bit of the changes compared to what you used to when you were building a app on Midnight. And we also have a migration guide in the repo that you can check to understand better what changed and what you have to do to migrate your application. So we're going to go through it quickly to understand better what the changes are. Now let me share my screen. I think that should be this one. Okay, let's switch it. Okay, so here is the repo with for the example counter. So let's have a look at the README. So you're going to understand what's different. So we still have some code for preview, but this one is more or less broken. So you have to use this one, the pre-prod one. I tested it myself, so it works. Everything compiles, and you can deploy a contract on Midnight, and you can interact with it. You have to make sure that you have the right versions, for Node.js, and of course for the Compact compiler. There are some instructions on how to install it and how to update to the right version. Just make sure that you have the right versions for all the different parts of the application. So for the compiler, for the libraries, for the proof server, because they all work together. And if one of them is not at the right version number, it's not going to work. Just like a regular JavaScript application, you have to install all the packages. You start by building the smart contract. The smart contract is going to compile. So here nothing changes. Here, just like before, you run the application, and you start the proof server. But this time you use the pre-prod version of it. Once the server is running here, and then here we're going to have a look at what happens when you run the counter. So you're going to have three choices, and the first one is to create a wallet. The good thing about the new counter app is that you get a lot of details about what's happening under the hood. So when you create a wallet, you're going to get your seed. You're going to get 3 different addresses. So there's one for the unshielded tokens, one for the shielded tokens, and one for dust. You have to take the unshielded address that you get, and you go to the faucet and you request some tokens. You're going to get 1,000 test night that you can use for the application to deploy the contract and interact with it. So that's what happens here. There is a link to the faucet. Just make sure that you are on the pre-prod faucet and not one of the previous faucets like the testnet faucet. And then the application is going to take care of generating dust for you. So that's one of the new things that you have to take into account when you use pre-prod, is that now the tokens that you get from the faucet is T-night, and you're going to have to wait for the T-night to generate some dust that you can then use in transactions. So that's done automatically by the application when you start the CLI. But when you are going to build another application, like for example the Bboard one, then you have and you use the Lace wallet, you have to send some T-night to your wallet, and then you have to wait a little bit for the wallet to produce some dust. And not only do you have to wait for that, but the first time that you do it, you have to send a transaction to start the production of dust. So that's a whole new concept to take into account when you create an application. But the process is very smooth. in the example counter, it's done automatically for you, so you don't have anything to do. And then here you have the three different steps, and the fourth one is to exit the application. The first thing that you can do is to deploy the contract. So you will need to have some dust, but you can see that in the CLI, you're going to have the amount of dust displayed that you have at the moment in the wallet. So you can just deploy the contract. You're going to get the address, and then after that you can interact with the contract. So this step, this part of the application is the same as before. The thing that's going to be different is that you're going to get T-night instead of T-dust, and you're going to have to wait a little bit for the wallet to generate dust from the T-night that you receive. So in general, it takes like 2 minutes to receive the T-night, and then after that, for the counter DApp, the dust is generated very quickly, so you don't have to wait too much. And there is also an option to monitor your balance in dust, and that you can also have a look at it. So for example, if you come back later and you use the same seed, then you can have a look at it, and you can see how the wallet generates dust. So it's a feature that we've been waiting for a long time, and it's quite amazing that you can see now that you look at your wallet and you see how it generates dust. So it's a very interesting process. There is some troubleshooting in case you have a problem with the example counter. You can also go on Discord and ask questions, or on the forum. So we would be very happy if you try it, and if you find any bugs or something that doesn't work and you have questions, yeah, I'm always happy to answer them. And then some links to the documentation. So this one is the README, so you can have a general idea about how the application works. And now we're going to have a look at the migration guide. So you can see within the repo, you have the migration guide here. And this one is, as you can see, it's a longer document, so I'm not going to go through all of it, but we are just going to have a look at the different steps, so you can understand how to migrate your application to Preprod. So a lot of those things are going to be tailored to the example counter application, but there are very general information to migrate any application. So you can understand how to do it for your own application if you have an application that's working on testnet, for example. You have all the different steps to install the compiler. So there is more information here about how to use it, how to get the compact tool, and how to install the compiler. And then there are some updates that you have to do in your contract. So don't forget to update the language version, because otherwise when you're going to compile it, it's not going to work. Then you can check that the compilation step worked. And then, okay, here, now that's going to be a little bit more involved, where you have to download different version of libraries for Midnight.js, but also new libraries. So as you can imagine, now you have new types of tokens to handle. So you have shielded tokens, unshielded, and dust. So we have new libraries that are going to help you handle shielded and unshielded tokens. Sorry. So you're going to have to install those new libraries, and there are new APIs in those libraries. So the migration guide gives you a lot of details about how those APIs work and how they compare to what you used to do before. So, for example, here, when you want to deploy the contract, you don't have to pass an object anymore with some raw data about the contract, but there's a nicer way to do it. And there's also two different ways: if you have witnesses, if you have no witness, or if you have witnesses in the contract. And there are also some type changes. The one that's quite interesting is, for example, here to get the state of the contract, instead of using the ledger method and not the state method. This one also for the interactions with the wallet. So you have now different libraries that you can use to interact with the different sort of tokens and to interact with Dust. Sorry. So you have to use them according to your use case. So if you handle the 2 types of tokens plus Dust, then you will have to use those 3 libraries. Otherwise, you can just import the one that you need. And they also have different APIs. I'm writing at the moment an article that's going to be a tutorial about how to use those different libraries, so you have a better idea of what they do, how to use them, and how to implement them in your application. Here it's very general information, but you still have enough details to understand what you can do with them. So there are different APIs. So I don't know if you remember, but before, if you wanted to work with seeds, you had to import third-party libraries. Now it's integrated in Midnight.js, so you don't have to do that anymore. Here is an example of the code to initialize a wallet. So you can see all the different parts, to initialize a shielded wallet and an unshielded wallet. There are also steps to work with Dust. So once again, that's something that you have to take into account when you create the application. Here, there's different configurations for your wallets. So you can see that there are a lot of things that are the same. So, for example, the network ID, or you have to give the URL of the proving server to the wallet. So those things are things that you will always need. And then different information about how to use the wallet. So I invite you to go to the migration guide and have a look at the code, so you can compare it and you can implement it in your own application. So once again, there are breaking changes. So the application that you wrote for testnet is not going to work out of the box for Preprod. You have to change you have to update the code. If you have any issues or if you have any questions, please leave them in the forum or on Discord, and we will be very happy to answer them and also help us improve the developer experience. You can see that you have also some details about the APIs that don't exist anymore. You have to be careful of the address formatting. So you have 3 different addresses now. You have an address for shielded tokens with this format. You have an address for unshielded token with this format, and you have an address for Dust with this format. So you can see here when we are on Preprod, there's always a prefix that indicates which network you're working on. So here we're on Preprod and 3 different types of address. Here there are some details about registering your address to generate Dust. So that I talked about it in the previous step. You have to be careful to generate Dust. So it happened to me to test an application, and I didn't have any Dust in my wallet, and I was wondering for 2 minutes what's happening, and I realized that I didn't have any Dust. So yeah, that's something you have to be mindful. I would recommend that you install the Lace wallet now and you request some tnight from the faucet, so you can start generating T-Dust. And when you need it to test an application or send some tokens, then you have the Dust available in your wallet. There is a step about how to use it with Docker. So this step is more or less the same. So you still need to use the proof server in Docker. You can see that there's also an image for the indexer and for the Midnight node. You can also use, of course, the public ones. Those are the ones that I use, so the public indexer and the public node. But the proof server, it is recommended to use the one that's running on your own computer. There is a public one, I think the one provided by Lace. but in general, but if it's just for testing, it's better to use the one that you have on your computer that's running in a Docker container. And here you have to be careful to install the right version of it. And some environment variables. Yeah, this one is also pretty important, the network configuration. So here you have, where are they? Here for Preprod, you have all the URLs that you can use. So this one is the one for the local proof server that I was talking about. You have the URL for the faucet. You have the URLs for the indexer. And you have here the URL for the RPC node. So those addresses are very important if you want to build on Preprod. You can use them and you can add them to your application, so your application can connect to a working indexer and a working node. And I think we're going to get to the end of it. So yeah, you have to be careful when you use Preprod. So this step doesn't change that much, but yeah, you have to be careful that the proof server is running, that you're connected to the right indexer, to the right node, that you have Tnight in your wallet that already generated dust, so you can make sure that you can create transactions. Yeah, that's it for the migration guide. So this guide is quite general. It gives you a lot of information about how to migrate your application. We are working on both on the documentation side and also on tutorials to make it easier for you to migrate your application. Let me stop sharing. Here, okay. So. Yeah, we are very interested at the moment to get some feedback, from early adopters of Preprod to see if everything works the way that it should. If you have any blockers, if you found any bugs. So I tested it myself and it works, but that doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody. So yeah, if you have questions or any feedback or anything, please leave it in the forum or on Discord. And stay tuned, because we're coming with more documentation and more tutorials, more example dApps that are going to make it easier to build on Preprod. Let's check if we have questions, because I didn't see them. Where was that? Oh, should we uninstall our old compiler, or is it just an update? So at the moment on Preprod, you don't have to uninstall it, but you have to install like a pre-release version of the compiler. So the steps are documented, in the migration guide, so you can have a look at it. But there is some manual things to do to install the new compiler that were not that you didn't have to do to install the previous versions, because it's a pre-release version. So you don't. I would recommend that you uninstall the one that you had before. But there is also a step to install the compiler and then tell the compact tool to use that compiler. So it's documented. I think that would be the easiest one to do. UI that won't allow the wrong type of token is critical for users. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And yeah, you have to be very careful what kind of token you send, if it's unshielded or shielded, according to your use case. Okay, so I think that's all for the questions for today. Okay, so yeah, once again, if you have any questions, any feedback, don't hesitate to leave it on Discord, on the forum. And thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.